Reppin' Philly ain't a choice. It's a way of life. PhillyGoat.com is your one-stop shop for Philly pride. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Look fresh, stay Philly, Philly Goat. Go Birds. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for October 16th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. A nice, crisp fall morning Thursday. All right, let's get into the podcast today. And some positive news on the Eagles front. Finally, Jalen Carter practiced, did say that he used last week as a mini bye week and plans on playing. Landon Dickerson and Quinyon Mitchell both practice as well, but in limited fashion. But that does bode well for the Eagles, specifically Quinyon. I do feel a lot better about this game with Quinyon playing. Without Quinyon, don't feel that good about it. But I really do feel that Howie needs to be on the phone, and there's so many positions of need right now that I don't even know where I would start. I still think cornerback 2 is the top priority because you will have Nolan Smith coming back in a couple weeks, so that should help the pass rush out. I'm anxious to see what Vic does with Nakobe and Jihad, whether he starts putting Jihad out on the edge and let him rush the passer, whether he gets creative with his looks. So this is where he's going to have to make his money. So looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. Just a reminder, tonight during Thursday Night Football, Kyle and I will be dropping this week's Brotherly Birds breakdown. Should be a doozy. Recording it this evening, and then as soon as we're done, edit it. I will put it up. But lots to talk about with this team. And we'll be between our sports schedules this week. We haven't had a chance really to discuss a lot, so it should be coming out on fire for that. Of course, the Vikings are playing games with the Eagles, which, I mean, kudos to them. Everybody's like, oh, we won't. No, they should be doing this. Typically, I guess they have the starting quarterback come out for press conferences yesterday. They had both come out. So we'll see. Not sure who is going to play. Neither one of them should be 100%. McCarthy with the ankle, Carson Wentz with the shoulder. But it does lead to an interesting topic that I heard on Sports Talk Radio yesterday. And I figured I'd give my 2 cents in on it because people seem to be pretty split on this. And it centers around Carson Wentz. And to me, I make it no secret, I'm not one of those guys that, oh, they don't win the Super Bowl without Carson Wentz, blah, 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 blah. But the fact of the matter is they don't win the Super Bowl without Carson Wentz. I'm not going to sit here and stand on top of the Carson Wentz mountain and say he is this, that, or the other. I'm also not one of these ones that's going to say he's a top 5 quarterback in Eagles history, because he's not. He had caught lightning in a bottle for whatever it was, 11, 12, 13 games in 2017. And that was it. Had it not been for his lightning in a bottle, I don't think that we would have won the Super Bowl. But other than that, man, he was just a weak-minded individual, couldn't handle the fact that they won without him, did not get along well with his teammates, was not a leader in the locker room, injury-prone. And his best season probably he had other than that short 2017 run. He got hurt the first play. Whether or not it was a cheap shot or not, first play of the playoff game, he got hurt. So thank you, Carson, for 2017. The questions that they were asking, do you root for him? No, I don't root for anybody who leaves us. I think that is reserved for very rarefied people. Brian Dawkins, when he left to go to Denver, yes, you rooted for him. Randall Cunningham, when he ultimately ended up in Minnesota, yes, I was rooting for Randall. Reggie, even to a certain point when he went to Green Bay, I was rooting for Reggie. Seth Joyner when he went to Arizona. Those are the guys you root for when they leave. Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley when they went to LA. Yes. Cole Hamels when he went to the Rangers. Yes. Carson Wentz? Nah, man. The body of work is just not there. So, I mean, hey, everybody's entitled to do whatever they want, but I'm not going to go out there and be like, Carson Wentz. No, because I think to me with Carson Wentz, everybody gets hung up and caught up on, oh, well, he was so good, would have won the MVP in 2017 if he didn't throw the knee injury, threw the touchdown with a torn ACL, all that other good stuff. But no, you got to look at 2018 when he was a little banged up, still trying to come back. They went to Nick Foles. He wasn't doing much and went back to Carson, and then he got hurt, which he always does. And then Nick Foles led them on the magical run. All of that plays into it. The way he handled them drafting Jalen Hurts. And truthfully, they wouldn't have drafted Jalen Hurts if it wasn't for your attitude or your relationship with Dougie P. You cost Doug Peterson his job. So I think you need to look at the whole picture when you're dealing with Carson Wentz. And sure, thank you for 2017. It was one of my most favorite years of my entire Eagle fandom. But I'm not going to sit here and throw on a Carson Wentz jersey, which I took off my Carson Wentz patch on my jersey and ironed on a A.J. Brown patch on the back of it. So I don't even have a Carson Wentz jersey anymore. But hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Hey, I was on the Wentz wagon when it was 2017, 2016. I liked it, but little did we know he's just a weak-minded individual, and I cannot get over that. So not a top 5 quarterback in Eagles history. Thank you for 2017. I kind of hope he plays because I feel more confident with him than J.J. McCarthy. So let me know your thoughts on that. I'm anxious to see. And yes, I am stealing this from WIP. We all apparently, because they steal my stuff all the time. But what are your feelings on Carson? And like I said, to me, it's not. It's kind of like a 10th, maybe 12th on the list of storylines and things I'm focused on for this game is the fact that Carson Wentz is coming back to or playing against the Eagles again. I don't know. I don't have time for it. But let me know where he ranks in the Eagles all-time quarterback list, what your feelings are on him. Be curious to know. 267-495-8531. That is the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest, but I'm not rooting for Carson Wentz to do well. Truthfully, if the Eagles weren't playing the Vikings this week and Carson Wentz didn't have a chance to start and be their quarterback, I wouldn't even be thinking about Carson Wentz. Sorry. All right. Yesterday's trivia question. I asked you, who are the Hall of Famers in the 1980 World Series? Surprisingly, only 3, and that would be George Brett for the Royals, Mike Schmidt, and Steve Carlton. Pete Rose likely will be joining them soon. I thought the Royals had a couple more, but apparently they do not. So thanks to everybody who reached out with that. Flyers in action tonight at the Xfinity Mobile Arena, taking on the Winnipeg Jets, looking to carry the momentum they started so far this season. And they've played well. I mean, they went toe-to-toe with the Panthers the first game. They should have won in overtime against the Hurricanes in Game 2. Came back, beat the Panthers. So, I mean, they're playing some tough competition to start. Winnipeg's no slouch either. So hopefully they're able to keep that momentum rolling. And I would love to see some Mishkov tonight. Came in a little bit slow, a little bit out of shape. Talk about the ankle injury, but I look for Mishkov to come back and have a good game tonight. Be sure to follow me on social media at Philly Jimbo on all socials. Subscribe to the YouTube channel Jimbo_Mont and continue to spread the word. Like, review, subscribe, comment, all that other good stuff as we try to outsmart the algorithm. And as I mentioned, the Brotherly Birds breakdown will recap the I'm sure it's not going to be much of a recap of the Giants game. It's going to be more of a vent session about what's wrong with this team. And then we'll get you ready for the Minnesota Vikings. Best way to stay in the loop and know when that drops is to subscribe to the YouTube channel or on Spotify, but that will be dropping later tonight. Whether you're coaching Little League, crushing your fantasy league, or just rolling up to a bachelor party like a Philly legend, Lotwin custom hype chains bring the energy. Fully customizable, totally unforgettable, and guaranteed to turn you into the MVP of the moment. Great for teams, groomsmen, or anyone who wants to show off with some serious swagger. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD, and get 10% off your own custom hype chain. Lotwin, let's get hyped together. All right, October 16th. First, I want to wish a very happy birthday to my cousin Greg. We're getting old, brother. We're getting old. All right, but let's go back to 1963. And on this day in 1963, the Sixers beat the Pistons 117-115 in Detroit to open up the season. Hal Greer with a double-double, 26 points, 10 rebounds. But more importantly, this was the first ever game of the Philadelphia 76ers. They had moved from Syracuse that offseason, rebranded, renamed the 76ers, and the rest, as they say, is history. But the 76ers played their first game as the 76ers on this day back in 1963, beating the Pistons 117-115. Would love to start the season off like that this year, especially up in Boston. All right, let's fast forward then all the way to 1994. The Eagles had their 4-game winning streak snapped by the Cowboys, 24-13. The Dallas defense forced 5 Randall Cunningham turnovers, 4 interceptions, and a fumble. They sacked him 4 times. And basically this was a reminder because the Eagles they had knocked off the 49ers. They were living large right now, and I remember this very well. We thought we were hot shit at the time. But the Cowboys reminded who owned the NFC East. Probably the best known or the most memorable part of this game was late in the game when the Eagles scored. Rich Kotite went for 2 points, even though there was no statistical advantage or any analytics at the time that said you should go for 2 points here. When he was asked about it after the game, he gave the famous quote, well, we read the chart wrong. It was wet, and we didn't see it clearly. And that's your head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles in 1994. And ironically enough, that is not the most embarrassing thing that happened to the Eagles in 1994. But on this day, Eagles lose to the Cowboys 24-13. Rich Kotite can't read his 2-point conversion chart because it's wet. Inexplicably, I shouldn't even have tried to say that word. Unexpectedly, inexplicably, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. Went for 2 points, but all because he could not read the chart because it was wet. Rich Kotite. And again, not even the most embarrassing moment of Rich Kotite's season. We'll get more into that as October, November, and December progress. All right, let's go to 2009. Pedro Martinez making his first postseason start for the Phillies. Went 7 innings, no runs, 6 strikeouts, and 4 hits. And if I could say that word, I would say it again. But Charlie Manuel took him out. I was going through my time hop this morning, and I say, why take Pedro out there? He was dealing. He was looking good. J.A. Happ and Chan-Ho Park completely imploded on the Phillies as they both give up 2 runs through their relief. Ryan Howard hit a home run to account for the only run as the Dodgers salvaged a split to open up the NLCS 1 game apiece heading to LA. But Pedro was dealing. Phillies should have won this game. I still, as I was going back through the time hop, I'm like, that's right. There was no excuse to take Pedro out of that game. And it sort of set the tone then for what would happen in the World Series with Pedro. But Pedro Martinez was dealing. J-Happ and Chan-Ho Park, not so much, as the Phillies lose to the Dodgers 2-1 in Game 2 of the NLCS in 2009. And then we don't have to go far for this one. 2023, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, and Nick Castellanos all homered. Zach Wheeler went 6 innings, struck out 8, gave up 3 hits as the Phillies beat the Diamondbacks 5-3 to take a 1-0 lead in the NLCS. We were all feeling good at the time. Unfortunately, we all know how it played out. All right, it is Thursday. That means it's time for Throwback Thursday, brought to you by the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network. Go to clashingconferences.com to see how you can join, what they have to offer. Come over, have some fun. This podcast, This Day in Philly Sports History, as well as the Brotherly Birds Breakdown, are proud members of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network. So go to clashingconferences.com and join in the fun. Always looking for different voices and different perspectives. All right, but on this Throwback Thursday, Sixers open up the season next week in Boston. Flyers are underway. They're playing their second home game of the season at the newly named Xfinity Mobile Arena, formerly known as the Wells Fargo Center, as well as many other things. But specifically the Wells Fargo Center era, this is the stuff that goes through my mind when I'm bored, which I'm never really bored that often, but I went down a rabbit hole on this and was trying to compare the different eras and how the teams performed under the different names of the Xfinity Mobile Arena. And I can't even talk today. Far and away, hands down, the Wells Fargo Center era was probably the worst era of any name that the arena has had since then. Flyers slightly over 500, 544, 454, and 117. Sixers 556 and 639 all time at the Wells Fargo Center. 0 titles, obviously, but even worse, neither team, the entire time that this building was named the Wells Fargo Center, lots of playoff games at the Wells Fargo Center, neither team made it past the second round. Now, with the Flyers and Sixers both, this large part of that time was the process era, or the rebuilding, retooling, whatever you want to call it, era of the Flyers. But there were a ton of playoff games during that time, so the teams were having some success, but never past the first round. So maybe, just maybe, changing the name to the Xfinity Mobile Arena will bring some good juice. Flyers are 1-0 so far at the Xfinity Mobile Arena, so we're off to a good start. And to make matters worse, I mean, if you want to count Villanova, who won a couple national championships playing some of their home games at the Wells Fargo Center, you can. But the most successful team during the Wells Fargo era doesn't even exist anymore. The Philadelphia Soul won 2 Arena Bowl championships while playing at the Wells Fargo Center, and they don't even exist. So, Wells Fargo, see you later. Xfinity Mobile Arena, Flyers are 1-0. Let's go. But this has been Throwback Thursday, brought to you by the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network. Go to clashingconferences.com to see how you can join and what they have to offer. But as I was going down that rabbit hole, I'm just like, man, they were pathetic teams. And I saw a ton of games for both during that time period. And I welcome the change for Xfinity Mobile Arena. And I know what you're thinking. Here we go, Lucy with the football, Sixers. I'm telling you, they're going to surprise some people this year. All right. And finally today, our 2025 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame inductee spotlight is Clyde Simmons from the Eagles. Clyde was a 9th-round pick in 1986, one of the great guys that Buddy Ryan just had an eye for in the draft, specifically on defense. Played 8 total years in Philly, led the NFL in sacks twice. Led the Eagles in sacks twice, led the NFL in sacks once in 1992 with 19 sacks. He was a member of the greatest defense ever assembled. You know how I feel about that 1991 defense. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. He is number 4 on the Eagles' all-time sack list. He's on the Eagles' 75th anniversary team. He is in the Eagles Hall of Fame, the Western Carolina Hall of Fame, and currently is coaching the defensive line at Bowling Green. His starting lineup is over my shoulder. I should just realized I had him and Reggie over there, so I should have brought that out. But Clyde Simmons is today's Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame 2025 inductee spotlight. Eagles Hall of Famer, Western Carolina Hall of Famer, and on November 6th, now at Live Casino, will take his place among the greatest Philadelphia sports athlete of all time. One of my all-time favorites. We'll talk about one of my favorite plays later in this month. But when the Eagles had a field goal block, he picked it up in the Meadowlands and took it in for a touchdown in overtime. But Clyde Simmons, one of my favorites, will be inducted into the 2025 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame inductee class. But that does lead to today's trivia question. Clyde Simmons is number 4 on the Eagles' all-time sack list. Who's ahead of him? And I got 2 of these right away. Third one was kind of surprising to me. So let me know. Hit me up on the Discord channel, which is the first link in the description. Back to the Future Voice and Text line, which Back to the Future Voice and Text line has been very active in the recent weeks. I'm seeing everybody's messages, so please continue to have them in. It's been a busy time for me at my day job, so I haven't been able to respond to everybody, but continue to hit me up on the Back to the Future Voice and Text line. But who are the 3 players ahead of Clyde Simmons on the all-time sack list in Eagles history? All right, let me know your favorite Wells Fargo Center memory, if you have any. That'd be a good side topic too on the Back to the Future Voice and Text line. But on this day in 2023, Phillies go up 1-0 on the Arizona Diamondbacks with a 5-3 win in Game 1 of the NLCS. Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, and Nick Castellanos all homered. 2009, Charlie Manuel takes out Pedro Martinez after 7 shutout innings. The bullpen implodes, and the Dodgers beat the Phillies 2-1 in Game 2 of the NLCS. Rich Kotite couldn't read his 2-point conversion chart as the Eagles' 4-game winning streak is stopped in a 24-13 loss to the Cowboys. And the more I think about it, I'd have to look this up. This is just strictly off of my memory. I don't even think it was raining that day. So, Rich, how the hell did your chart get wet? Maybe it was raining. I don't know. It seemed like it always rained when the Eagles played the Cowboys. So maybe I'll double check on that and let you know tomorrow. And then in 1963, the Philadelphia 76ers played their first game ever as the Philadelphia 76ers, a 117-115 win over the Detroit Pistons. Hal Greer led the way with 26 points and 10 rebounds. Don't forget the Brotherly Birds breakdown will drop tonight. We will have more on the Eagles injury news as it develops for tomorrow. We'll update you on the Flyers. Hopefully they can go 2-0 in the newly named Xfinity Mobile Arena. We're changing the vibe here for our winter sports teams because God only knows the summer team and the fall team have not been given us much to cheer about. Lots of disappointment. So hopefully we're going to change that narrative for the winter sports teams. We'll be back tomorrow with Fridays with AI. Can't wait to see what AI has in store for us tomorrow. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for October 16th, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.